Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Life. I am Precious Chukudi. It's been raining all morning, looking like August wants to end in grand style, I guess. All right, let's begin with the front pages of the papers this morning. We're starting off with Vanguard, and Vanguard is leading with Disquiet in PDP over Wike's preferred candidate remarks. The writer says his comments put Atiku on urge. That's coming from a source. Explains why party can't sanction Wike for anti-party activities. Ex-VP still open to reconciliation. Our crisis will be resolved soon. That's coming from Olafeso. Swallow your ambition. Return to PDP. McAfee tells Peter Obi Kwankwaso. Stop bad-mouthing me. Wike tells McAfee. Says alleged rapist in Rivers PDP frolicking with Atiku. Call governors meeting now. Edo PDP tells ASUU. We can see a photo story showing BUHARI receives APC governors. Government's move to reopen varsities calls meeting of pro-chancellors VC. You can see that on page 7. On page 7 still, court rejects Abba Kyari's fresh application for bail. Others accelerated trial. Federal government engaging foreign countries to deal with insecurity. That's coming from Lai Mohammed. 2023, no Cold War between Atiku no Cold War between Tinubu Adamu over campaign count. That's coming from APC. Highly placed Nigerians involved in crude oil thefts. That's coming from NNPC boss Kyari. NCAA threatens to suspend 23 domestic airlines over 46 billion naira debt owed agencies. On page 19, extortion at Lagos ports takes new dimension as ETO fails. And lastly, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have 2023. I won't allow politicians intimidate Nigerians with personal resources. That's coming from BUHARI. Let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with after 14.6 billion naira, Nigeria's air misses fifth takeoff amid investors' apathy. The writer says concern as Nigeria Air gobs 14.6 billion naira in 4 years under 5% government equity. Industry awaits delivery of Sirika's aviation roadmap 7 years on, 9 months to go. Consultants, stakeholders disagree on prospect of new airline. Ex-Soviet leader Gorbachev, who ended the Cold War, dies at 92. You can see that story on page 2. We need to act fast on ASUU strike, Osibajo tells APC governors. How Nigeria can make 13.58 trillion naira yearly from traditional medicine by experts. 43% bets not captured by Nigerian civil authorities. You can see that on page 4. And stories below. In 2023, I won't interfere, condone intimidation. BUHARI tells APC governors. Nigerians pay 6 times more for food since 2009. Let's move ahead to the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with BUHARI to Nigerians. I won't interfere in next year's polls. Osibajo challenges governors on economy. ASUU strike. Petrol importation to end June 2023. Influential Nigerians among 122 arrested suspected oil thieves. 295 illegal connections discovered on 200-meter pipeline. Churches, mosques involved in vandalism, theft. Reverse your decision on strike. Federal government tells ASUU. Minister insists all unions demand met. VC pro-chancellors to meet education minister September 6. Parents urge parties to resume talks. Stories above. No rift between Tinubu Adamu over campaign council, says APC. Wike cautions McAfee. Others on PDP crisis. Igboho appeal court reverses 20 billion naira damages against DSS. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation, Fidelity Bank gets a CBN nod to acquire Union Bank UK. Let's move over to the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with indefinite strike. Federal government summoned varsity councils. Vice Chancellor as parents grumble. The writer says NUC meets pro-chancellors Tuesday to review action, reach consensus. Osibajo, APC governor, begged lecturers to end strike. Parents Association says ASUU inconsiderate. The minister insists on no work, no pay. Lecturers deserve pay despite strike. ASUU president. Army kills a terrorist. Arrest 3 suspects in Kaduna. Hoodlums invade Lagos communities, rob residents, victims lament. You can see that story on page 5. On page 4 and 5, undergraduate lovers die in Kwara, corpses found naked. Alright, stories above. 6,000 Nigerian doctors moved to UK under BUHARI. You can see that on page 13. And 46 billion naira debt. NCAA threatens to withdraw airline licenses. Oil earnings dropped by 29% to 790 billion naira. That's coming from CBN reports. Tinubu seeks Jonathan's support. APC denies internal rift. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, federal government projects 120 trillion naira as 3 years consumption expenditure. And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Tripodi. Joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of the papers this morning is Mr. Gbero Oladribe. He's the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you join me this morning.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure being with you.
Alright, let's talk about, the PDP crisis. And, we've been seeing how the back and forth with Atiku and also with Governor Wike. We've seen how basically they've been going back and forth on their fights and all of that. What's your take on what's going on?
Well, it's a political party that often sows the seed of its own destruction. Because when you have law and you don't want to follow law, you just want to be lawless in all events, in all cases, you get a situation like this where there is a relationship with members of such community, society, or party. Because how do you Sunni system in its own constitution, not other document, not that it was imposed on it. It adopted that, and that whenever a president emerged from the north, another will come from the south. And he was doing this pretending that it wanted to manage Nigerians' diversity. But astonishingly, at the middle of the game, the rule is changed. The rule of law became the rule of thumb. And you have a situation now where it is absolutely impossible for them to return power to the south immediately after BUHARI completes his tenure. That is the genesis of the whole thing. Insincerity, injustice, unfairness, and at the same time, inequity. Those are the problems that PDP have. And they cannot manage that. If you cannot be just at the level of your own political party, how can you have a governor, install a government of PDP that will be just to Nigerians? So it is ambition, a desperate ambition of an individual to become president that crippled their own constitution. And that is what Wike is reacting to. Anyway, Wike has his own challenges in the PDP, but the fundamental issue is that the party is not just. And when you have a conundrum of unjust people, you can't, what you get is anarchical reaction. What you are having now is reaction to injustice, pushed out by the political party called PDP that has been unable to manage its diversity, not versus south, its diversity in all other respects. I think that is what is playing out, and that is what legitimately Wike is lashing on to push his own personal agenda too.
All right, Governor Wike, he made a statement where he said he will let us know who his preferred candidate for 2023 election is. What do you make of that statement?
Well, you hardly make nothing out of politician statements because they are never stable. They can make one statement today and change tomorrow. That is the nature of politicians, because what matters to them is not, forget about this national interest. It's not national interest, it's personal interest, their political interest. That is what matters to them. Tomorrow now, the statement might change. And I don't want to be caught feeding on statements that are not reliable, statements that are not even, that will be denied even tomorrow. So politicians are the same. When they greet you good morning, you should just first of all, before answering them, look at your watch first, whether it's morning or afternoon. It's difficult for me to make any sense out of the statement they make, because they are not made out of principle. They are not made out of any serious mindedness. So caution is important when you are, and is profitable when you are dealing with politicians, particularly their statement and utterances. That's why I always advise ordinary people not to count on their statement, but to own Nigeria, to know that the equal they play prominent role in creating a new Nigeria that will be just to everybody, that will be free, and that will not stand to oppress anybody on the basis of religion or on the basis of ethnicity.
All right, let's talk about one of Wike's demand, to the party, where he said Dr. ASUU should resign. Now, according to the party's constitution, it states that if the national chairman resigns, his successor must come from the same geopolitical zone as him. What do you make of this statement?
Didn't they know this before they started their Uruburu arrangement? The issue there is that when ASUU was appointed or elected as their chairman, it was nearly or almost given that the presidential candidate will come from the south, and that is the wisdom in the cliche that if you tell one lie, you will need 1,000 lies to carry it to cover it. That is the place they are now. Didn't they know that if the chairman resigns, another person from the north will take over before, or wherever the chairman is coming from? They know that. Now they want to follow constitution that they didn't follow when they were appointing presidential candidates. So what type of logic is that? It's still the same pattern of insincerity, the same pattern of injustice, the same pattern of political behavior that is abhorrent to principle.
All right, the party is yet to put together their own presidential campaign council. Now, with the fact that the lingering crisis between the Atiku faction and also Wike faction is going on, do you think that they are ready for 2023 elections?
They are not sure now because of the condition given to them by Wike. The chairman is the one that is supposed to convoke a coalition of people that will be in the campaign council. But the chairman is being rejected by a section of the country. But the mistake we should not make is to think that Wike is alone. Wike is not alone. Others are aggrieved as him in the party, particularly in the southern part of the country. How can Atiku be preaching looking at himself as a bridge, what they call a bridge builder, and it's the same one that is even collapsing the bridge through his inordinate ambition to become president in defiance to the requirement of their own constitution. So that is the issue. So the campaign council cannot be put without first of all getting the party right, because it will be rejected. It will be exclusive because some people will not be ready to participate in it, because the issue on the grounds have not been resolved. So it has been the same deceit, and Papa even Peking, the way they have been doing it before. And that is why Nigeria must be conscious of who they vote for. And they shouldn't vote for any party, but they should vote for individual that's credible enough to ensure that Nigeria gets its groove back, to ensure that peace is restored to Nigeria, to ensure that justice thrives in Nigeria in all the crannies and the nooks of the country.
All right, let's talk about ASUU. Now, there are indications that despite the intent of ASUU to go on, continuing their strike, federal government is set to reopen church universities. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, maybe they will manufacture teachers for them when they reopen university. They shouldn't just put any parents through trauma again. You open university, you send your word, there are no teaching is going on. Rather than resolving problem, I don't know why we behave like this. This problem has been lingering on since 2012. And when this federal government came in, if you remember, at the ending of Jonathan's regime, there was academic towards that ending. There was academic union strike. But BUHARI came in. He hated them. He said they should call off strike and that he will settle the issues. And they deferred to him. Over 7 years after, we are still talking of the same problem. As government plays through, I think blackmail should not work. There is no way you can say that you are resolving industrial crisis by pulling the rocks off the leg of those critical stakeholders there. What matters is that the government says that they have resolved 80% of ASUU's demand. Let us know the 80% so that we can join you to blame ASUU if necessary. Let us see the 80%. And this is a government that is not committed to anything, including even you say people are on strike. Look, yes, there is no pay when you are on strike, but that strike must not be as a result of your not commitment to agreement. The only condition where you can just say that no work, no pay is when you are not the causal factor. You are not the causal factor of the strike. You are then you can talk of no work, no pay. But the cause of the strike arose from your non-committal to agreement that you earlier signed, not implementation of what you earlier agreed to implement. Those are issues that government should look at. If you have resolved issue like this to this stage, it is in the interest of anybody to now say that, okay, you can debate how you are going to pay, but you can't say you are not going to pay since you are the cause of the strike.
All right, so do you agree with the federal government saying no work, no pay? Do you agree with the federal government saying no work, no pay?
No work, no pay and industrial law is what I'm saying. But it has condition. It's not about you don't just I don't agree with federal government. I agree with the law. That you recklessly embark on strike for what is not your concern, for what is not an industrial matter, for what is not a breach of trust or breach of contract or breach of agreement or breach of memorandum of understanding, then you can say no work, no pay. That is what the law is anchored on. Not on when you don't, as a government, you are supposed to fulfill some agreement, and then you made a promise in that respect, you sign document in that and then you renege. Then you are talking of no way. And let us be clear about one thing. ASUU did not declare strike. The last strike, before the agreement was reached with this federal government, was that, well, because we have faith in government playing their own role, we are going to suspend the strike. So ASUU merely resumed the strike that was suspended, and it's not a new strike. And that should be understood within the context of that law. That is not a new strike, it's a strike that was suspended, that resumed because of the failure of government to fulfill the part that it has signed.
The way it's going with the lingering strike, do you think that this might just roll over to 2023?
2023, academic does not go by years. It goes by session. A session has been lost already. A session has been lost already. But the tragedy of Nigerian society is that we focus on election. What manner of election? When the life of the children are not put under consideration by the government that is in power. We abandon governance. Nigeria is a very unique and very dangerously choicy country with a very almost people that you prioritize election. We behave like a friend of Ephraim who prepare for battle, who prepare for war, but on the day of battle we turn back. You make every noise, you go and vote, you conduct election, every noise everywhere as if Armageddon is about to fall on us. But after the election, we go back to sleep. Nothing concerns us about governance, and that is the consequences you are saying in education now. Which in the world we move forward without education? Is it possible? You are talking of technology. You are talking of this. No, look, you can't destroy educational system. Yesterday, we read in the papers how 6.25 billion was approved for establishment of ranches in Katsina alone. Ranches for cow, but we don't care about human beings. How is that a government that is serious about re-engineering a country economically, politically, and everything? And if you want to do this, you need human resources to do that. And the most critical place that you source human resources is the universities. If you want to know what is happening, what type of sickness that is afflicting a nation, you go to its universities. If you want to know how a country can come up and develop, you go to its universities. But you can't say the same of our Nigeria universities because they are not funded, they are not leaders or rulers and don't concern themselves with that. You have junk. How do you explain a situation that you are a teacher? You have over 1,000 students in your hall, some squatting, some sitting on the floor, some from the window. Will you have class control, which is critical to learning? Are you going to have that? You go to a university instead of Bonse Bona, you see student carrying stove to laboratory. How is that a school? So until we begin to appreciate the whole essence of functional education, we are not going to have good governance, we are not going to have good economy, we are not going to have security. And I have always said that if you close this, if don't never allow the door of your school to be shut, because schools, you open that of violence and you inevitably open that of prison. So do you want our youth to become prisoner or to become cherishable citizens of the world, advancing in technology, in science, and of course, excelling in arts? Those are the hallmark of a generation of leaders that think of the future.
All right.
So the focus should be on education and nothing else.
All right, let's take this one before we go. And the president has assured Nigerians that he would not allow anyone use personal resources or influence to intimidate people ahead of 2023 elections. What do you make of this one?
Yeah. Not today, as we say in Nigeria, we will not allow anybody to use his national resources to. Are they not using it now? The governors flying to London, whether PDP or APC, whose resources do you think they are using? Shattered plane. Is it from their pocket? When is that going to happen? And this is the same president inviting politicians to ASUU Rock. Whose resources are they using? Is it BUHARI's resources? Those are challenges. When you want to know, when they say that if you have to come to equity, you have to come with clean hand. It's absurdity. When you see people, it's an absurdity when you see political parties meeting being held in seat of government. Whose resources do they use then? Is it during election alone? So it's a funny thing. Under his watch, ministers were buying 100 million form to contest for president as presidential aspirant to become presidential candidate of the party. Did he do anything? No eyebrow was raised. So those are the issues. It's not about saying it, it's about doing it. Is it that it's 11th hour out already? 11th hour, you want to start fighting political party funding and everything. And of course, you are a beneficiary of that in 2015. You are beneficiary of that. You cannot fight what you have surrendered to. That is the logic of a philosophy of somebody that is going to battle. If you have surrendered to something, to be doing it, it becomes hypocritical for you now to fight it. So we want to know how is 2015 election, how the election was funded. We want to know so that we will know that it's talking from point of experience, from point of history, and not from a political grandstanding.
All right, let's take Mr. and Mrs. before we go. Mrs. is speaking, saying that people saw both of you. They said you gave her 10,000 naira as you were mounting the stairs to our flat, and that you later came down to meet her. And then Mr. reply says, look, my philosophy is to be kind to people I meet on my way up. I may meet them on my way down.
Well, the philosophy should be charity begins at home. And not because if your charity begins outside, you are not going to meet anybody when you come down. Because one, those who stand by you first, they are your families, and that family must be. You are more accountable to them than those outside. When you go outside to show how good you are, even when you are bad at home, that is what Jesus, why he calls the Sadducees and the Pharisees. Because they were hypocrites. They wanted to be praised by people. And he asked them to perish. So may his own case not be like that. So if he's coming down, it's likely to fall and perish without taking care of the home where the support is. So that's a song, they say Buga, that when you fall on sofa. That is if you prepare the ground for that. And there is a Yoruba adage that says that if you want to match in your front, but if that is not done, then I wish him well in his folly.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Gbirola Jigbe, Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning. Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on the screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. Remember that you want to find out up-to-date stories, you can go to our website, www.vanguardngl.com, to find out more. I am Precious Chukuri, and thank you for watching.